this second video, I want to get more technical, talk about individual letters and how their pronunciation changed over time. This is not a class in Greek per se, but my focus is more on historical development and implications on how to select a pronunciation system for ourselves. As I mentioned in the last presentation, they have found lots of documents with spelling mistakes, and that leads us to find out how things were pronounced at that time. Ketai became Kita, so I became E, and A became E. So in that way, we see how the writers heard the words and the letters, and they wrote them down, and we can see which letters sound the same. This screenshot is from YouTube. That's very good. The link is at the bottom. You can read more about that in koinegreek.com. This heading is about iotacism. That's the vowel shift towards an E, like iota. Both iota, eta, ypsilon, and some diphthongs are all pronounced as E in modern Greek. So it changed over time. However they were pronounced at that time, we can see that I became E, and A became E, and so on. The long O, omega, became an O, omicron, and the Oi became an Y, not an E as in modern times. That came later. So we see that eta became an eta and ypsilon became an ypsilon. We are not sure exactly when things changed. We have some indication from different parts of the Greek-speaking world. There are thousands of documents. Not everyone is agreeing on the dating. Erasmian system are using the combinations on the left where everything has its own sound. If we look at the consonants, we have the voice stops, the hard B, beta, gamma, delta. They became fricative over time, so beta became a vita, like Volvo. Here, the Erasmian system are using the ancient ones on the left. There is, in Ranieri Greek pronunciation, examples of when things changed and how they changed. Overview, whatever you look at the web, just check the data behind it, where they got the information from. Then we have other consonants, the aspirated ones. The voiceless became fricative, and that is after the time of 1st century. Here, the Erasmian system is using the modern ones. So Erasmian intended to use the ones that were active in the 5th century BC, but here he's using the modern ones. We do have some similar things. We say contrary, not contrary, but we might say kite when we say kite surfing. So we have something similar to the aspiration, but we don't use it a lot. Other hints you can find in the Wikipedia, how different letters were pronounced. You see the pronunciation, IPA symbols. So you can find that both for the ancient classical Greek and the Koine Greek and modern Greek. Now, ypsilon, after vowel, that changed over time. If it was after an alpha or epsilon, it became a consonant sound. So autos became aftos, and evangelion became evangelion. Now, I don't want to pick on the Americans, but that's what led me to question how to pronounce Greek. Should I pronounce it like the American teachers, even though it is clearly wrong? The Y sound is one example. Most Americans that I've heard use the U sound, the upsilon. In the ancient Greek, it was ypsilon, ypsilon, and in modern Greek, it's ypsilon. Some refer to the German umlaut for U, the Y. That is the same sound as the ancient ypsilon. Germans have two letters that are pronounced like ypsilon. The Y they call ypsilon in the German alphabet. And actually, according to IPA, the Swedish Y and the German Y are pronounced the same way. If you're Swedish and you heard a German speak Swedish, they often have problems with the Y. It's not totally the same. Anyway, back to the text. Americans can pronounce most ancient Greek consonants. We have the same consonant sounds in the English language. Some of the aspirated ones might give you a problem, but it's not impossible. The modern Greek consonants are not very difficult, except for a few of them, and the vowels, well, the single vowels, not the diphthongs, but the single letter, they haven't changed very much over time. There are similar sounds in English, but not completely the same, like with O. The English O you can pronounce that in different ways, in goat, or though, or choice, foot. None of the English pronunciations have the same IPA symbol as the Omicron from the Greek, so it's a different sound. It might be difficult for English speaking. And the Ypsilon we already talked enough about. On the web you can find the IPA symbols and help on where in the mouth they are pronounced. It's not very helpful. I would recommend the short different video clips that are on pronunciation of Greek or any other language you might want to learn. I also want to mention accents. We have two breathing marks, aspiration. So the rough one indicates that there should be a breathing, like ha in the masculine article. The smooth one indicates there should be no breathing. Then there are the polytonic ones, acute, grave, circumflex. All of these 5 are used in Erasmus' system. None of them are used in the modern Greek, except for the stress accent that they have where the words are stressed. Polytonic ones, you probably raise and lower the pitch in different ways, and that can make a difference what the word means. Like in Japanese, a word can mean 2 or 3 things depending on how you raise or lower the pitch in different parts of the word. Aspiration, they say that it was never pronounced in Ionic, and in Athenian dialect it was used, it was pronounced, but it was dropped out after the writing reform in 403 BC. Later, during the cognate times, it fell out of speech. So should I use it? Well, if you want to speak like Paul, you probably should pronounce it, but modern Greeks do not use it. I mentioned that it's in the Erasmus system, but not in modern Greek. There are also other accents that I will not talk more about, the diaeresis, the iota, subscript, adscript, coronis, but they are not important for this discussion. Last slide. Which one should I use? Which one is the good, bad, and the ugly? Well, most of the systems are anachronistic, so in that way they are not very good. We have the Erasmian system where every letter has a different pronunciation. It is utterly anachronistic. It aimed at being from the 5th century BC, which itself is far from the New Testament writings, and it includes some sound from 1,000 years later from modern Greek. You can choose Erasmian, as most schools use it. You can choose modern Greek, like modern Greeks do when they study ancient Greek also, or try a reconstructed form of ancient Greek or Koine Greek. Have fun.